Hello and welcome to this little video of mine. I made a mapping for the Push 2 for Traktor Pro 4 and now I'm showing you the features. It's pretty deep going mapping. It includes the stems. You can change some features of the stems and also use the pattern player if you use it. The mapping is available on Gumroad, and if you want, you can get it there. The link is in the video description. Thank you for your support. It took a long time to make this mapping, to include all the little features I wanted to include. Now I'm gonna show them to you. Firstly, how do I start always? We start like this. Traktor being open, not in full screen. So to show you Traktor is not in full screen, you can press this button, the play button, and then it's in full screen. It's pretty useful for the start. And going further, what to do next? When you start a live set, you typically load the tracks, right? So you navigate your folders or playlists using this button. If you want to enter a folder while navigating, you can do it via select. To navigate the playlists or folders and selecting a song, you use this button. To load a song is very simple. Firstly, we need to know where to load the song. You can choose between deck A and B and deck C and D using those here. You will also notice a color change here, but we will deep dive into that later. Now we want to load our track on track A. This is track loading on the left side or on the right side, depending on in which deck you are in. Now I wanted to load it to track A, so we just simply press the page left button and it's loaded. To toggle the view of our browser and to get into the view of our mixer and so on, you simply press the browse button. The next steps, when you want to start playing, I will show you how this works. For this, it's mirrored on each side. Basically, those here are your hot cues. And here, hot cues A and B, or depending on this one, C and D. To play a song, you press this button. This is the play button. This is the cue button. And this is your position 1 button. You press this to get at the first position of the song when you play it a bit, like this, and then get to position 0. It's also I also have a manual which describes everything like in a digital PDF when you get the mapping. Now when it's playing, you see those are your volume displays. This is track A, track B, track C and D. To get to the next ones, like this is your FLX button if you're using that one. Your flux button, and this is flux reverse over here. It also changes if you change the deck. For each deck, this and this is the flux reverse. This is basically activating a loop or deactivating a loop. This is selecting the size of a loop. You can also see it here a bit, which size it is. If you're mixing and key and using the key shift function, it's pretty handy for you because I also implemented it. Because this is pitch down or pitch up, which you can see here, of course. If it's pitched up or down, you will see a slight variation of the two pads. If it's the same color, then there's no pitch. If you want to navigate your tracks, there are 2 ways, or more or less 3 ways to do that. It's pretty easy. You have one option. This is nudge 1 beat to the right or to the left. if you want to navigate a bit faster, or use the scratch function, which is also implemented here, but it's a bit different, which I will just show you how to use it. Because unlike the pads on the S8 or S5, was it? Yes. This one works a bit different. You see the little dot here. This is basically your middle marker where you can navigate your track forward or backward. But firstly, you have to, because we only have one fader, for one touchpad for that. Firstly, you have to select the right track. This is A, B, C, or D. So now we are in A, and we want to navigate back. We do that. While playing, it's a bit handy to do it like that. You just go back, or to advance in the track. If you want to scratch, I mean, you could try. It's not pretty good working, but that's how it works on here. It's a bit possible if you fiddle around the middle, but you will see it's a bit random. So if you want to navigate faster than what you just have seen, press and hold this button here. Basically, this is all your settings for that. And then you want to navigate further, faster, and then you're doing it like that, or going back like that, and then play again. If you want to activate or deactivate your effects on the mixer channel, you're pressing those buttons. This is FX1, FX2, FX3, and FX4, which is all implemented here, of course. But we will come to that. Next up, we have the mixer, of course, the most essential part. So this is your high EQ, mid EQ, and low EQ. For it not having a physical point where you are in the middle, you are just simply pressing this button beneath each to reset your values. This is your volume fader, and this one is setting it to 0. On this side, this is not mirrored because I felt it's a bit difficult for the brain to have it mirrored. So basically, this is your high EQ, this is your mid EQ, and this is your low EQ. So it repeats itself. Of course, if you switch from track AB to track CD, it manipulates those values down there. Next up, this is basically your selection of the features you are manipulating with those knobs and buttons. Right now you are in the mixer mode, which is standard on startup. If you want to manipulate your effects, which you probably have, like FX1 is on now, you have on this button FX1 and 2. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is how you activate your effects or deactivate it. This is the wetness, and those are your FX parameters, including those buttons. Different on which effects you have loaded in. This button is your FX 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're using the pattern player, you know how the pattern player works. Obviously, pattern player is basically an FX lane, so you have the same features. You can manipulate the values of the pattern player the same way as you have manipulating the effects. Next one is the device. When you press device, you are manipulating your mixer effects. To activate it, this is deck A, B, C, and D. To activate it, you just press this button. Now you see it's activated. Yeah, that's how the filter works, nothing new. If you want to reset the value, then you can press this button, and it's resetting to 0, which is also pretty handy because, like, sometimes when you just nudge a little bit to the right, still the bass is completely cut or the highs are completely cut, and you can't really see it. So just press that to reset it. If you want to change the selection of the mixer FX, you spin a bit more fast because I didn't want to have it intentionally changing. So yeah. That's how you can change it using the knob right next to it. Next one is how you manipulate your gain values. The gain values are basically here. You have to also twist a bit more. It's again, deck A, deck B, deck C and D. Resetting is the same, it's right here. Nice to know is also, if you have your headroom at -12 dB, you will see that you're not being yellow, basically. And if you become yellow, it's not too loud, but it's more than 100% basically. And if you twist it more than 100%, in the gain, this one will light yellow, of course. This one will also light up, so you can see it is a pretty good monitoring. A perfect loudness for me is basically when this one is, or this one same, is blinking a bit, then I have the perfect loudness, and the rest is up to the PA system, or the owner of the PA system, to be more precise. On the right side, you have your tempo faders. This is also, again, deck A, deck B, C and D. Everything is also explained in the manual. Basically, you fade tempo up and down, and resetting it is the button. To get into the stem decks, to manipulate the features of the stem decks, we have a little feature. Now I have a stem song here selected in the browser. If you have selected if that track is loaded per standard as a stem, then press and hold the shift button while loading to load the normal track. So we have loaded it now, and we go back into the mixer view. If you want to get into the stem manipulation, hopefully you can see it a bit. Yeah, it's a bit difficult, but if you have a big screen you can see it. It's explained in the manual also, so yeah, but I will just do a quick showcase. You go onto the mix here, and then you press another time to get into the submix, because stem decks are basically labeled as a submix. Then you can manipulate the volumes of each stem, which is, this is deck A. Deck A doesn't work obviously because we know I don't have a stem loaded. Then this is deck B. It's a slight different color, yes, but yeah, I programmed everything in the without the extra power for the lights, so sometimes it works better if you have a low light situation and not attached this cable. But if you know it, then it's fine. Manipulates the volume basically, like and you can deactivate the lane using that button. This is not a reset, this is a deactivation of the lane. To change the FX, if you are in submix, then this one lights up, the user button lights up, you can press it, and then you see the colors changed, and then you're manipulating your FX. You can deactivate and activate. It works like this, and it works basically the same as the volumes. It also changes when you are changing the deck A, B or C and D selection, obviously. Yeah, if you're in C and D, we obviously don't have a stem loaded right now. Maybe let's try it to load a stem in D. Yeah, per default there was those tracks were deactivated. Traktor is remembering what you did before on the deck, so don't wonder if you deactivate it previously and it doesn't show up being activated or it doesn't light up here, then it's basically Traktor having it saved that you are having deactivated. If you want to change your fader, I personally don't use the fader. You can use the fader like this. This is your fader. Like this, you're manipulating the left side of the fader and changing if it's fading to deck A, B, C or D. This A, B, C, D, you see it in the user interface. So yeah, and this is the right side of the fader. Next one. You see it's a pretty intense mapping, lots of stuff going on. If you take a look into the manual, basically, it's also a good reminder. If you want to change your master tempo, you can do it like that. This is changing 0.5 of tempo. Yeah, it's the most actually I could implement on the buttons. So yeah, an opposite different story for a fader. It works a bit differently. So, but I wanted to put it on a button. So basically, this is doing that. Not 1 steps, sadly, but 0.5 is the most I could implement. And this is actually a good amount to make fine adjustments to the left and the right on your master tempo. This button basically here is also your sync. So if I didn't explain it before, sorry, but if master tempo is not selected, when auto is not activated, then you can change it to the master one. Next feature is if you want to add a hot cue, you can obviously do it like hot cues work, adding those here. If you want to delete a hot cue, you press and hold delete and then press that button. Again, also pretty funny thing, if you tap tempo, your master tempo is the tempo you tapped. It's not useful at all, but I thought it would be funny to add it. Now we come to the last feature, finally. It's the pattern player. If you want to use the pattern player, if you're using the pattern player, let's say it like that, you have to obviously add a pattern player on your FX lane, as I mentioned before. Now I added it to FX3. Pattern player is on, it's activated on FX3, and you get into the pattern player setting like this on the metronome button. Now you see your pattern player. If you have more pattern players, they will show up here. Like, let me just put a pattern player on, let's say, FX2. We have it here on FX2. This one lights up. If you want to change between those, this is usually FX1, FX2, FX3, FX4 when a pattern player is loaded. So yeah, we are now on FX2. If we want to start the pattern, obviously, we select the right FX, use the functions of the FX, and pressing that button here. Now you see it's going through. You can manipulate the beats and yeah, use it how a pattern player is used. It's pretty nice. I used it for some ambient tracks to lay a beat behind. So yeah, I mean, you could also do it just using a stem or remixing, but it's a nice feature that they made now for free. So obviously, if you don't hear anything, that's because you didn't activate the right FX. Right now I have deactivated the audio for obvious reasons, but this is your FX of your deck. You lay it to the deck. If you're using pattern player, you probably know how it works. So yeah, basically you're activating a deck FX, and where your pattern player is playing, then it plays through that deck. That's basically it. One last feature, now the really last one, is if you are not using the pattern player anymore and having a song playing like this, and maybe other songs also, if you want to change the volume using those little handy pads, you can just do that, because I also implemented it. I mean, it's pretty nice. You have a touch and interface, and you can manipulate the volume. You can activate it. It's per standard not activated because I think it's unuseful when you're in a situation of live performance, and you know what I mean, and then you got accidentally on the pads. So to activate that, you press that button, the setup button. Now you can change. Last thing, this is how you record your mixes. Start recording and stop recording. That's basically everything this mapping has to offer if you want to have it, and you basically say you're a DJ or you're a music producer and also are playing some gigs at a festival, and you don't want to buy expensive hardware and already have this one. You can use the mapping, or if you don't want to carry around a big mixer, then it's nice to have, especially with the newest version of Traktor, using all the features that got implemented new. If you want to support this, check out the link in the video description to my Gumroad page. Then you can get yourself the mapping included with the manual And you have two files for Traktor. One file is for the mapping, obviously, and another file is for my Traktor settings, so you get the same layout. You're seeing everything you do, basically. There's also a function for displaying some certain sections of your screen on the push-to display. I personally don't use it because I have a display just next to me, which has a pretty good resolution in comparison to that one. You get why I don't use it. But if you want to use it, feel free to do so. Also, link in the video description and on my Gumroad page. It's on GitHub. Feel free to read into that and use it. So yeah, thank you for your attention on this deep dive of this mapping. And I hope I could show the features nicely. Thanks and bye.